Riddle me this one, roommates. What do Chris Albert, Helena Rafferty, Paul O'Keefe, and Jim McDermott, this guy right here, have in common? They were all at one time or another involved in driving a motor vehicle and either unaliving someone or causing them serious bodily harm. Now, what these three names have in common, and I threw Helena Rafferty's name in there because she was also involved in a motor vehicle accident earlier this year, which she is being sued for, by the way. But these three names have all been involved in a drinking while under the influence car accident that involved either unaliving someone or causing them serious bodily injury. And what's even more shocking, folks, is that this incident involved an elderly woman. I'm just gonna say it. What is it, Michael Morrissey, with the people in Norfolk County? What is it about them that makes it okay for them to strike the elderly? I mean, I feel like this is a serious attack against the elderly. Are they ageist? Do they believe in euthanasia? What is it about the elderly? We need to stand up. We need to stand up. This has got to be a whole new movement, folks, because this is an attack on the elderly and it needs to stop. It needs to stop before another elder gets hurt. Hello, and welcome to Alexasrewm, where we are not lawyers, we are not medical professionals, we are not law enforcement, we are just people. People who have opinions about all things going on in the true crime community, including this breaking story from our favorite Turtle Boy investigates TB Daily News. I will link this whole article in the description box below. I know I said I was going to come out with part D of the Vanity Fair article, but y'all, this was too good to just glaze over, and I wanted to get this out because this is pretty freaking huge, and I'm totally here for it. And thank you, Turtle Boy. You seem to be the only investigative journalist, aside from Julie Miller, and aside from, I will even throw Ted Daniel in there because he's been doing pretty good too. He's been holding his own. That seems to be interested in sharing the truth. So again, we salute you, sir, and let's see what you have revealed. So Norfolk Chief Clerk Jim McDermott kept his job despite drunken car crash that nearly unalived an elderly woman. So here he is. Here's our boy, Jim Jam. And that is the carnage from his car accident back in 2006. Norfolk Superior Court Chief Clerk Jim McDermott, the clerk assigned to the Karen Reed unaliving case, and I assume that as chief clerk, the head cheese, he has a similar role as Beverly Cannoli Oil. I'm not entirely sure how that works, or if Beverly is in charge of if she's in charge of assigning the clerks as well too, because that would make sense, and you're going to see why in a moment. The clerk assigned to the Karen Reed unaliving case, who has shown bias towards the Commonwealth, on several occasions nearly unalived a woman in a drunken car crash in 2006, which has all but disappeared from public records. Because that's what happens, guys. You not only get a promotion, you get upgraded, you get reinstated, you get a bonus, you get on a pat on the back and a good job. Good job, you did it. You fulfilled the exact stereotype perfectly. In November of 2006, McDermott was charged with an OUI in Milford District Court after driving drunk and crashing into another car that was operated by an elderly woman. And if you'll notice over here, this stuck out to me when I was first reading through this. I was like, wait, hold the phone. Katie Rayburn. We've heard that name before. Now, she was a prosecutor in the girl from Plainville case, the girl who had convinced her boyfriend at the time, Conrad, to unalive himself through a series of text messages. She was the prosecutor that got the conviction for her. Now she's been since released, and I think she's on probation or something like that. But she was a prosecutor in that case, and interestingly enough, she's also the presiding judge now in Turtle Boy's case, or one of his last hearings at least. So a lot of interesting links. And there was also something, too, where we had seen her name come up in the Karen Reed case, which we're going to get to in a minute. But those charges were upgraded to the much more serious charge of OUI causing serious injury. So at first, our boy Jim was just charged with an OUI. But then, what had happened was, this poor woman, right before Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving, right? Gets skirted to the Milford Hospital, where it's discovered that she suffered a series of injuries, and that is where the charges were then upgraded. But you can't see anything on the docket other than the charges were dismissed at the request of the Commonwealth, because the Commonwealth has yo back, right? You leave your firearm in Chip Proctor's police cruiser. No problem. We'll take care of it. I got my guy Fanning all over it. You send some gross, vile, disgusting text messages to your buddies, to your superiors. Chip. Don't worry, Chip. We're on it. We got your back. We got your back. Lunchbox is on the case. Case was automatically closed and disposed, like Higgity Diggity did to his cellular device and SIM card on that military base. I wonder, there were no witnesses, right? Because I was thinking about this earlier today. I was watching Melanie Little stream earlier about the civil case, because that was a huge win today for Karen Reed as well. She was full of big meatball wins this week, right? Big meatball wins to stay the case for an additional 6 months and to continue it after the Reed trial. And she was talking about Higgity Diggity on the military base, and I believe there were no witnesses to have been called. But I wonder, there has to be surveillance cameras on the military bases, no? So I'm almost curious, and I'm sure her team has obviously been through the ends of the earth trying to get and pool whatever evidence and resources they can, possibly, but I'd also be curious if he had any friends there, so anyways, I digress. That's a totally different conversation for a totally different day, but this was disposed, and on May 5th, 2016, so 10 years after the fact. 10 years. Why? It would have been even more sus if this was like during the Karen Reed investigation. But why 2016? What happened in 2016 where they were like, yo, we gotta like dispose of this. This can never be a thing. Like, what does Jim have on these folks? I don't know. The case had a case status of disposed for statistical purposes, whatever the duck that means, and case disposition of pending/undisposed. Also, the case met all criteria for auto-close/dispose as outlined by the AODC, which included 1. No future events. 2. No outstanding warrants. 3. No events scheduled in last 60 days. 4. No money outstanding. 5. All charges were disposed. And there's our boy Jim couple of paces to the left of Madam Court Reporter. I wonder if there's any dirt on her as well, too. I mean, it's like everybody in that courtroom now. Man, oh man, oh man. You do not want to poke the dang turtle, right? Am I right? At the time of the crash, McDermott was an assistant clerk in Norfolk Superior Court. He has since been promoted because, yeah, like we said, it seems like when you act like a criminal, you behave like a criminal, you get rewarded, right? What a great lesson to teach our children, too. It's like, it's okay to hit Susie in the head for taking your markers because you'll be rewarded as long as you're playing for the right team. As long as you are a Norfolk County employee or you become an MSP trooper, I don't know. Like, these are the career paths apparently for criminals. It's inspiring, truly. There was an article published in the Telegram and Gazette detailing the horrific crash in which McDermott nearly unalived a 65-year-old woman, Vivian DeLucia. I'm going to go with DeLucia in Bellingham. Please correct me if I am wrong. Apologies in advance if I am butchering her name. So this is a screenshot of the article. I mean, bodily harm. Yeah, I mean, this is all the carnage, the aftermath of all the carnage from this guy. I mean, how fast was he freaking going? Jeez. Michael DeLucia, so the son, said his mother was moved out of the intensive care unit yesterday to a regular ward. She has 7 broken ribs, broken hips, a broken left radius, and a lung that is 80% collapsed. Well, that's just great. I mean, I guess the whole, like, retirement plans, going cross-country, traveling Europe, right, for the summer, that sounded all fine and dandy, but now I can barely breathe because I only have one functioning lung, and the other one, well, only 20% of it is good. I mean, talk about a nice retirement, right? Happy Thanksgiving. What are you grateful for this year, ma'am? Well, thank you for collapsing 80% of my lung, you mother ducker. As you can see, he was drunk as a skunk at 7 p.m., so at least he waited until the evening. Well, no, actually, if he was drunk as a skunk, he took a play out of Paul O'Keefe's book, or vice versa. Paul O'Keefe must have taken a play out of Jim's playbook, right? Day drinkers. The day before Thanksgiving, when he hit her and was talking on his cell phone, which I can't stand too, right? I cannot stand, and I hope you guys aren't, and I'm sure you're not, but I cannot stand people who text while driving. There's absolutely no need to. If you're texting somebody, it's clearly not an emergency. If it was an emergency, you would get a call, and most cars today have Bluetooth, and most cellular devices, in fact, all of them, right? Unless you have a Zach Morris style phone, have the speaker feature, so there's absolutely no reason for anybody to be on their phone. And I say this because my wife is she rides motorcycles, and I can't tell you the number of times that we're riding and we see somebody, douche canoe on their phone, twiddling their thumb, not only annoying, rude, but it's also very dangerous, especially for people who ride motorcycles too, because they're more exposed. And the solution isn't, oh, well, you shouldn't ride. The solution is you should just not be on your freaking phone or operate a motor vehicle when you're drunk as a skunk. But I digress. Multiple witnesses saw him, oh, this is nice, relieving himself in the middle of the street prior to police arriving. So why wasn't he also hit with, like, indecent exposure, right? Why wasn't he also hit with that charge, too? See, if witnesses are seeing him whip it out and relieve himself, I mean, that's lovely. Norfolk County, we relieve ourselves We reveal taillight pieces. He failed 2 sobriety tests and was disoriented. Yeah, I bet. I mean, if you're whipping it out, you're whipping your Johnson out and you're revealing yourself and relieving yourself. The victim, meanwhile, 65-year-old Vivian DeLucia, had 7 broken ribs, broken hips, a broken left radius, and a fractured wrist, which I guess wasn't in the article we just read a little clip from. And a collapsed lung. She was on her way to her son's house to deliver a turkey, which was in the back seat. It's like, how sweet. It's like she's, she's doing the dang thing. She's going to the store, getting ready for Thanksgiving. All that turkey trimmings. And how timely, too, is that? Like, this is a very seasonal article, I have to say. She was just trying to deliver a dang turkey with all her limbs intact. My goodness. McDermott's lawyer was Katie Rayburn, who is now a judge in Norfolk Superior Court. Rayburn was temporarily assigned to the Reed case, but never oversaw it. So that, I did a whole video and everybody got excited. And I don't know if it's because Beverly canola oil is the head cheese. But there was a moment, and I'll link that video as well too, so you can check it out, get more context about it. But essentially, she assigns all the judges to different cases. And everybody was like freaking out, like, oh my gosh, what does this mean? There's a different judge on the docket. And we were all excited because of, hey, like maybe she'll actually be fair. And, she had a pretty solid reputation. And it just seemed to either be a clerical error and, Bev was too busy crab walking to update the docket. I don't know. But it was shortly thereafter corrected. And Beverly was back on the case. So as we know it. But she was also the judge, as I was saying before, at Turtle Boy's last hearing. And she was fair. She was totally fair. So I'm excited to see. I hope she remains the presiding judge. That'd be nice to see, right? And we saw a good judge today with the civil case and that ruling. So there are some good people out there, but those that are currently orbiting Karen Reed, not so much. It's a little stinky. DeLucia's daughter reached out to us and said that it was McDermott's 3rd DUI. Oh, so it's not even his first one, right? It's like, I don't even know with Paul. I feel like with Paul, that was like a one and only time, as far as we know, right? I'm sure if there were more incidences, we would have found out about it by now, right? Turtle Boy's all over that. But this guy, the head cheese of the clerks, right? The master clerk has 3 DUIs. And like, were they all just disposed from his record? Like, how does that go, like, under the radar, right? And he just continues to move up the food chain. I mean, we know why, but you keep your enemy. I don't know. Maybe he's made some enemies in Norfolk County, and they're like, we got to keep this idiot close to us. I don't know. And that it set in motion a series of events that would eventually unalive her mother. So this poor woman ended up dying in the long run. In 2006, Jim McDermott hit my mother while drunk driving. It was his 3rd offense. He should have went to jail. But he worked for the court, so they let him plead to a 1st offense. After the incident, he got out of his car, relieved himself on the side of his car. Well, at least he relieved himself on his car, right? Still, though, nobody wants to see your Johnson, sir. Swore repeatedly and so he's also cursing, even though it was your fault, and demanded someone call his cop buddy in town, right? Just like Paul O'Keefe called up his brother, right? To bail him out. My mother had 13 broken bones and a punctured lung. She was flown to UMass and never fully recovered. 4 years later, she died of a neuroendocrine cancer, which doctors believe was from the over-radiation she had from the trauma. And it's crazy because there are trolls out there currently on Twitter quoting a caption that, or tweet that Turtle Boy put out in support of this article, talking about the specific part about how it eventually led to this woman falling ill to cancer and dying. And them saying, oh, well, you know, that's not how cancer works and yada yada. And actually, if you are overexposed to radiation, and just to show you, for those of you who are skeptical, and I know none of you are because you all have normal, healthy brains and IQs, for which I applaud. Exposure to too much radiation can cause cancer. I mean, I didn't even need to look that up to know that. That's just a yeah, no, duh, right? But if you Google it, right, can exposure to too much radiation cause cancer? Radiation of certain wavelengths, called ionizing radiation, has energy to damage DNA and cause cancer. And I'm fairly certain if the doctors are telling this woman's daughter that this was likely the cause, not saying that it was the cause, but it likely was because of all these injuries that she sustained from this drunk driving incident, it's probably a logical reason. It probably is true, right? There's probably some truth to it. My mother was a saint. McDermott is a piece of human poop stain. Looks like they are looks like they all like to drink and drive, and they don't give a poop who they hurt. And exactly, that's my whole thing, is like, why is it that everybody who orbits around Karen Read, except for Karen Read, who is being the one who's actually being accused of doing this exact thing, has no history of doing it? They can't even prove it in a court of law. The Crash Daddies literally said he was not struck by her SUV, let alone any vehicle, period, end of story. It didn't happen. Did she have alcohol in her system? Yes. Yes, she did. So did every other single person who was at the waterfall that night, or at CF McCarthy's, and or both, and driving and operating motor vehicles, which I believe they all were driving. They were all doing the same thing, and this could have been each and every one of them. Each and every one of them. But the difference is, this is somebody who is a county employee. Not only a county employee, but an employee of the district court. Whose salary is being paid by taxpayers, by residents of that county. Now, I don't know if they lived in that county, but wouldn't it be just incredibly sick and twisted if she did? So not only am I paying for this scumbag's salary, the same scumbag who just brutally injured my mother, but now he's getting off scot-free, gets a pay bump. So now I get to pay him even more money for being a dirtbag. She also says that the family sued McDermott. We went to court to sue him, and my mother got some money from his house equity. She never got to spend it, and it wasn't much. And I'm sure a lot of it probably went to treatment, right? I can only imagine. The accident happened in Bellingham. He lived in Blackstone at the time. About a month ago, I went on Google to look for articles, and there weren't any I could find, so I'm guessing he had them wiped. And this has been, close to 20 years at this point. So I'm fairly certain that if this even was reported on, it probably wasn't reported on a lot. Because that's how they roll. They control the narrative, and they don't have people digging in. And social media wasn't really a thing in the early 2000s. I mean, you had Facebook starting to come on the scene, and of course Google, all the search engines, but nobody really diving deep or exposing people on the mass scale that people can now. And that is the beauty of the internet. It's dangerous, but it's also amazing how accessible this information has become and how more aware we can be and educated about this stuff. Court records show that DeLucia was awarded $200,000 in 2007. Settlement amount, okay. PIP and MedPay payments from safety insurance, $28,000. Disbursements, attorney's fees, okay, $60,000. I have reached out to her daughter for follow-up on the 2 alleged previous DUIs, as well as the civil suit, but have not heard back as of publication. So hopefully we get an update. And if he does, I'll update you guys as well too, because this is big. The AODC, Administrative Office of District Courts, was the body that requested McDermott's case be disposed from the public record in 2016. So maybe that's when he got his little promotion, right? I mean, how crazy is this? McDermott has been favorable to the very favorable, to the Commonwealth throughout the retrial. On April 12th, 2023, Reed filed a Rule 17 motion for Jennifer McCabe's phone records after her 2:27 a.m. Google search was revealed. The motion was denied, but the SJC reversed Cannoli Oil's decision in November of 23. Verizon had until December 15th to hand over the records. So I didn't know this because like I've said before, I kind of jumped into this case mid-trial. We were already on, I think, like day 6 or 7. So things were already off to the races with this. I missed a lot of the pre-trial hearings. And since then, I have gone back and read through some of the previous documents, gone through some of the previous hearings, but not to the extent, obviously, that a lot of you have, right, who have been following this from pretty much day one. So I didn't realize how much of a player he was in all of this. So he goes on to say, however, the court never received the records before Reed's January 5th pretrial hearing. On that date, attorney Elizabeth Little addressed the court about this issue, and McDermott told Cannoli Oil that he never called Verizon to request them. So he just didn't do, he decided that day, yeah, I'm just not going to do my job today. Maybe I'll go and get me a liquid lunch, right? Me clocking in all these hard, long hours. I'm a very hard-working man. Instead of admonishing her clerk for not doing his job, Cannoli Oil instead told the defense it was their fault for not contacting Verizon themselves. And this is why I love Karen Reed's expressions. It turned some people off, but I love it because she's one of those people who she wears her heart on her sleeve, but also too, it's all over her face and she can control it. And I love it because you could tell she's a no BS kind of person. And she mouthed, "We did do that." And she threw her hands up in disbelief. McDermott then asked the lawyers to go decide Bob, because I guess he's the judge now, right? He's the real head cheese in all of this. Let's check it out.
As you know, the court has ordered the Verizon records relating to Jennifer McCabe, as well as the Google Nest records. We were informed by the clerk's office those were supposed to be produced to the court on December 15th. My understanding is you guys have not received anything, and I wanted to follow up on that because that obviously is evidence that we hope to have in advance of trial.
All right. So, Mr. Clerk, is your office call or is counsel call?
I've never called.
Yeah. So typically defense counsel calls and says there's a court order. Where are these records?
I emailed the clerk's office and they said that they haven't received anything yet, and so that's why I wanted.
Right. So call Verizon and call, who's the other record holder?
Google Nest.
Contact the record holder and say there's a court order. Where are these records?
Okay. But you all have not received anything.
I don't know. Jim?
Yes. I'm thinking.
Have you received them?
Could counsel come to sidebar?
Okay.
Absolutely.
Are you awake, Jim? Are you sleeping? I'm sorry. Are we boring you to death? He's like, huh? And she's like, Jim, are you there, Jim? Are you there? Are you there, Margaret? It's me, cannoli oil. Like, holy smokes. I mean, this is the stuff that I missed. And I didn't even catch, I don't know if you guys saw Rita Lombardi in the background with her free Karen Reed garb. Love it. This is outrageous, but I love that reaction from Karen, because she's just like, we did. She just said it, but I will reaffirm for you in mime, because if I speak up, God forbid, I'm gonna get smacked on the tuchus, right, for that? So Jim doing an excellent job serving you folks in Norfolk County, right? I wonder if he was a hand-picked if he was the #1 draft pick for cannoli oil that year. The defense team does not have the ability to order Verizon to produce phone records. Only the court can do that. And the court's representative, Jim McDermott, intentionally chose not to do that. And I love how he was just like, yeah, no, I didn't do that. Like, he didn't even try and, like, play, like, nah, like, no, I'm sorry, like, it slipped my mind, or I tried, but then for whatever reason, I couldn't get in touch with the person to do that. Like, didn't even try. He was just flat out like, nah, I didn't do it. I was too busy throwing back a couple liquid lunch, you know? I'm a really hard-working man, sleeping on the job. It's a hard gig. He blatantly disregarded an order from the Commonwealth's highest court because he just didn't feel like doing what they ordered him to do. McDermott was also in charge of picking who the alternate jurors would be. So this is another big thing, guys. This is huge. He was the guy who is picking the alternate jurors. And as we know, the alternate jurors were largely in part, as we believe, from what's been reported, allegedly, that the alternates were not guilty votes. So now, again, it's like, how many coincidences do people like Julie Grant need to be convinced that, yes, they're all in on the same joke? To quote Karen Reed, this is a conspiracy. It is. This is not Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, folks. This is real life. This is happening. And it's just so crazy to me, because they're just openly gaslighting the entire world. This is all being broadcast. And at this point, obviously, not as many people were following the case as closely as they are now. But, you know, again, that's the beauty of the internet, is everything stays on the internet. Once it's there, it never goes away, except if you're Jim McDermott and your public records about your previous DUIs, that totally disappears into God knows where, right? Like a fevered dream of an M. Night Shyamalan, Shyamalama Ding Dong movie. Keep in mind, he had access to jurors' notebooks throughout the trial, giving him insight to how they felt about the case. When he did a random drawing, which allegedly contained the numbers for every juror except Cannoli Oil's hand-picked former cop foreman, he picked the numbers of the 2 jurors who he could see were making facial expressions of disbelief throughout the trial. You can see him do that at the 4:23:45 timestamp. So let's check this out. Let's check this out. What did he say for it? Back it up a little bit.
All right, so Mr. Clerk, will you choose the alternates, please?
The classic cannoli oil sigh. I have to say, I do miss that. It's just so dramatic and unnecessary.
Could the juror sitting in seat number 3, who is juror 79, step down and take your place as an alternate? And the juror sitting in seat number 2, juror 14.
So, I mean, isn't that crazy? So he's like looking at I mean, I get it. Like you're drawing from random, right? But back it up a second,
Take your places and alternate.
right?
Could the juror sitting in,
Like he's already staring at them. Like he already knew. Like who knows what number he even picked. One of these jurors cried afterwards and wore a pink dress to court in protest during the second day of deliberations, and that's what we love. We love it. We love it. The defense did not get to see which numbers McDermott drew, so they could verify it. They did not get to see that the 13 eligible jurors all had their numbers in the lottery. And that's another point, too. I don't know in terms of, like, how that works in other districts, in other county. I don't know how that works, where there is, this is how they pick their alternates. I have no idea. But I imagine, like you're doing the Powerball, right? Like you hold it up for the room. I mean, that would be my thought, right? Is that would be the proper procedures to show it to the court, to verify to everybody that I'm not lying. But you could see he was making eye contact before he picked the first one, so he knew, in my opinion. For all we know, there were two numbers in that box. Yeah, that's true. You couldn't even tell. All three jurors who were dismissed that day have confirmed that they would have voted not guilty on all charges. So yeah, you add up all these coincidences, it really makes you wonder. I also had a run-in with Jim McDermott last July when I called the courthouse and asked why a public document, my affidavit, well, not mine, but his, Turtle Boy's affidavit, detailing how Matt McCabe's brother, Sean McCabe, threatened to unalive me and bury my body at Cannoli Oil's Cape Cod summer home, had been impounded. McDermott wouldn't give me a straight answer, probably because he was drinking on the job, for why the public document was impounded, and lied to me when he said that the document had never been uploaded to the public docket. It was there and then was removed, which I screenshotted with a timestamp to prove. So here is the call for reference.
Recording, and I'm not sure why. This is a public line.
Probably because you were recording. You shouldn't want to be recorded.
Well,
But
I mean,
anyways,
she's
go
a
ahead.
public servant at work. I could walk into the clerk's office and begin recording anyway. But anyway, the reason I'm calling you today is because I'm a reporter and I'm looking at the docket for the Karen Reed trial, and I've noticed that there's the motion for recusal. It's no longer there when you click on image on mass courts.
Yeah, it was never there.
It was there for 2 hours. I got it yesterday, but it's not there now.
Okay, because it was impounded
By who?
by the court.
But I was told Judge Cannoni was not in.
Pursuant to the defense request.
So the defense has asked for it to be impounded.
The defense requested it, yes, and so it was impounded.
On what grounds did the defense request it be impounded?
Personal information.
Okay, but her address was not listed on there.
Okay.
So what personal information?
I disagree with what you just said.
Well, it's just a matter of fact that her address isn't listed.
Well, actually, as a matter of fact, in the affidavit that was attached to the motion is her address.
Yeah, but
There's other personal information on it, too.
but the public couldn't see that. You couldn't see that when you click on the motion.
Okay, you said it was on for 2 hours. I don't think it was on for 2 hours, but in any event, it's not on now, and it's impounded.
Okay, so that's the first one. The second one is the motion in opposition to the Commonwealth's motion to gag the defense. That's not listed on there at all. Do you know where that is?
Right, we just received it probably 10 minutes ago. So it went up to the judge.
You just received it 10 minutes ago.
Correct.
But it was sent in on Friday.
What was sent in on Friday?
The motion. I mean, I've had it.
Which motion?
The motion in opposition to the Commonwealth's motion to prohibit extrajudicial
Yeah,
statements.
I have not received a hard copy yet of that motion. And so it was not received on Friday. That's not true.
It was not received on
It's
Friday.
not on the docket. It's not on the docket, correct?
Wait, I just checked now, and it's there, but there's no image attached to it, so you can't read it.
Right, but I said, though, that it was docketed just a few minutes ago, right? And you told me it was docketed on Friday.
No. It was sent in on Friday.
All right, but I didn't receive it on Friday, so I don't know why you're saying that it was sent in on Friday. What information do you have that it was sent in on Friday?
I have sources.
When I received it today, and actually I haven't received the hard copy yet.
It's like, no duh, because he's a reporter. So it goes on for for another minute or so. You can go check it out, but this is what he's referring to. So the motion for recusal and disqualification of Beverly Cannoli Oil, Beverly. And he politely called him out on that lie, because he caught him and he didn't know how to come. He didn't know. So I realized we were going nowhere, changed the subject. I want to know why the other motion opposing the gag order wasn't posted. And I caught him in another lie when he said that was just received 10 minutes ago. I informed him that it was sent to him on Friday, but he intentionally chose not to post it, which again is your freaking job. I had received no hard copy. The moment he tried turning the tables on me, began asking me questions. What information do you have? That it was received on Friday, which we heard. He was trying to get me to reveal my sources, which I don't do because he believed I was speaking with the defense. Which again, he's a reporter. He's going to talk to everybody. He's going to try and get as much information as possible. Again, nobody would have an issue if this was Boston 25, right? They would just charge you like $176,000. Well, if you're the MSP, right? To get access to certain records. But it was all moot anyways because he said a PDF of the motion wouldn't be put up because it contains sensitive information. I have a copy of the motion and it does not contain any sensitive or private information. Nevertheless, he told me that the court would be impounding it. That led to this telling interaction, which we went over. Just to recap. So first he says, I just received the motion. Then he goes, it was impounded at the request of the defense because of the sensitive information it allegedly revealed. It was impounded by the judge who wasn't working. So, okay. But so then not at the request of the defense. I'm not telling you why it was impounded because reasons. And then he hangs up the phone. Jim McDermott, Chris Albert, Paul O'Keefe all have one thing in common. They all drove drunk and either unalive someone or caused them serious bodily harm. If McDermott hadn't hit Vivian DeLucia, then she wouldn't have received the treatment that led to the cancer that caused her death. And again, to all the trolls out there, that is the point. That is the point. If she hadn't been in this accident, she likely wouldn't have procured any form of cancer because she wouldn't have had to go through a very intense treatment, especially at, 65. Yeah, you're still, young enough, and she had enough of a spring in her step to go out and pick up a Thanksgiving turkey and carry that to her car. I mean, girlfriend had a little bit of a spring in her step to do that. And you took that away from her and you probably shortened her life and made the last few years of her life even more miserable. You human poop stain. It can be argued that these three men have either directly or indirectly unalived two people and collectively have served a grand total of 6 months in jail, all served by Albert. Here is what O'Keefe and McDermott did to innocent elderly people. So this is the Paul O'Keefe one, and then this is the McDermott crash, which we went over Paul O'Keefe's DUI in a previous video, and if I can track that down, I'll link it. Otherwise, just go digging in my playlist and you'll find it. Now, all three of them sit in judgment of Karen Reed, accusing her of hitting John O'Keefe with her car, even though the evidence shows she did no such thing. But McTurditt, there we go, there's a nickname for him, McTurditt, should have lost his job after this crash in 2006, but instead he was promoted, just like Michael Lenka, just like Chris Albert, was when he got elected to the select board. They all drive drunk on the regular. Yeah, and Kevin Albert gets his job back too, right? He drinks on the job. It doesn't matter. And they all get swept. They all get it swept under the rug. Had the victim's family not reached out to us, we would have had no idea he did this. Now ask yourself, what haven't we found out about Michael Morrissey and Beverly Cannoli Oil? Well, I can't wait. I can't wait, because you know that Turtle Boy's all over us, and nobody else is going to break this news. And I'll link this in my description box. That's why I talk about, I use him a lot of times, because he's a journalist. He does the digging, the kind of digging that Julie Miller demonstrated with that Vanity Fair article, which we are going to go into part deux in my next video. So stay tuned. That is coming, because there is some stuff there about Hank Brennan's hire, right? And why he may have been hired as opposed to somebody else in the county, another prosecutor within Norfolk County in his office. And I'm fairly certain, if there is another mistrial, which I don't believe there will be, he'll probably do it again. He'll probably go for thrice. I mean, I don't know how many, if there's like a limit on number of times that you can prosecute the same person over and over again and bleed them dry for literally everything that they have ever owned and love. But with that being said, there's that fun information. But it's important, because these turd muffins and hoopleheads need to get exposed. And I'm happy that somebody is brave enough to do that. And you guys are brave enough to speak up and share it and talk about it and stand up and go to these events and go to these protests. And I think there is an upcoming standout coming up that was posted in one of the Facebook groups that I will also share in my community tab. So if you're local and you're in the area, make sure, if you're available on that date and time, make sure you go and support it. I'm also going to link Turtle Boy's Defense Fund as well too, so you can go and support Aiden Carney and his defense for his upcoming cases. And then, of course, as always, Karen Reed. Karen Reed needs our help more than ever, and if you can't do that in a financial way, then the best thing that you can do is go support Turtle Boy, read his articles, subscribe, share the articles, right? Share videos like this, share videos by your other favorite content creators that are talking about this case. Mainstream media wants to continue to run with the same old narrative about, oh, she's evil. I saw some idiot today on Court TV. I'm not even going to give it the plays it doesn't deserve it, saying how he hates Karen Reed. It's like, how disgusting are you as, like, what, a legal correspondent or whoever the heck you are, guy, commenting about the the civil suit today and the decision the judge made in ruling to stay the civil case until after the retrial. It's like, how disgusting. It's like, where's all this vitriol and hate coming from? She has a right to her own defense. She has a right to do that. That being said, I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Part 2, I can't say when it will come out, but it will come out. So just stay tuned. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you do not miss part 2 from me. Make sure you hit that like button, because that tells the almighty YouTube algorithm gods that this is newsworthy news. And this is newsworthy news. There is something stinky going on in the state of Massachusetts and in Norfolk County, and it needs to stop. It needs to stop. And it all starts with you. So, that being said, I'll see you in the next one.